My name is Ian Squires, and this is my mutual fund project for Finance 551 Summer 2018. The objective of this mutual fund project was to pick 30 mutual funds, 10 of them in US mutual funds, 10 international, and 10 sector funds. My choices for US equity are right here, and these were my favorite ones. I picked passively managed, low expense ratio um, mutual funds that were located in the US and that didn't have very high turnover ratios. They have been getting consistent good returns, and some of these guys were beating the S&P 500 on average throughout all 10 years. So they're very good funds. My favorite out of all of them would be the institutional fund right here, the second one. It has some of the highest returns here on this table, and I think that the management in it is spectacular. It had one of the lowest turnover ratios out of all of these guys. I was actually really surprised at how much the U.S. Mutual funds were, how well they were performing. I didn't think that they would perform this well. So here is my sector funds, and these guys performed really, really, really well. These all had low expense ratios. Some of them were actively managed. I didn't exactly screen them for passive management here. And they all have really, really, really high returns. This select retailing portfolio has 34% in 1 year, 19% in 3 years, 19% in 5 years, and 19% in 10 years, which is awesome. That one's probably my favorite out of all of these guys, simply because of the returns that they had. And their expense ratio is 0.78, so that's really nice. It's real low. It's just right around what everybody else is doing. And those are some awesome returns. They're in the consumer cyclical, so they do like a lot of retailing. They have a lot of stocks like Target in it, and it's doing really great. The next section is the international funds, and I was really surprised. I thought the international funds would do really well, but in fact, they weren't doing very well. These are all passively managed. These are all foreign large blend or diversified emerging mutual funds. And some of these guys have negative returns. In fact, everybody has negative returns in this year to date return column. They all have positive returns in this 1 year, but this isn't doing better than any of the benchmarks. I would say out of all these guys, these international funds are performing the worst. The sector funds are doing the best. And some of these guys are relatively new because they don't have 10-year returns here. So these guys do have extremely, extremely low expense ratios. And that could play a factor in the returns, but I'm not sure because I couldn't really pick out that relationship between them just by looking at the stuff that Fidelity had available on its website. I think it suggests that there might be a little bit more, research that could go into, like, does the lowest expense ratio funds, do they maybe not perform as well as other ones? Maybe like low expense ratio funds do better, but the lowest might not do as well because maybe they're not getting enough attention or the stuff that they really need to perform well. And I kind of looked in some of the stocks into some of these funds to kind of see like what they're made up of, and I couldn't really see any specific relationship, like any like problem areas, like maybe they were invested all in Venezuela and then everything tanked and that's why their returns are terrible, or something like that. But it's like I couldn't find anything specific like that. But I was just surprised overall that the international funds didn't perform as well as I thought. I thought they would do the best. I thought the sector would do the worst, and the U.S. economy ones would do right in the middle. But the sector actually did the best with these amazing returns, and then international the worst, and then America right in the middle. And America's go ahead and beating the S&P 500, consistently, and that's just amazing. So I would definitely buy these American funds and some of these sector funds. Like, those are some great returns. But that's my project. Thank you for listening.